Welcome to Momentum, the sports show where we break down the biggest issues facing the world of women's sports. Brought to you by Mecca Empower. I'm Kat Sasso, and each week I'll be joined by athletes, trailblazers, and experts as we dive deep into the trials and tribulations of the world of women's sports. This week, the Winter Olympics, they captivate the world every 4 years. But behind every athlete at that Olympics is years and years of work. So I am joined by one of the best voices in the world of winter sports, Mia Rennie.
What a compliment. One of the best voices.
You are. You're one of the best up-and-coming voices that I've heard, and you're doing such an amazing job. For those of you at home who don't know, Miff is working on the Olympics, or has been working on the Olympics by the time this goes out. How are you going?
I love it. It is so fun. It's my favourite sport in the world. It's something I've been a part of forever. So now I get to be the voice and I get to share it. And I love getting to share the athlete stories as well. Like I've skied alongside these competitors and just getting to bring that to Australia, a country that doesn't follow winter sports as much as I wish we did. It's so nice to get to share that with everyone.
It's always really nice, I feel, when the Winter Olympics does come around, because I feel like, I don't know about you, but I've noticed this year specifically that people have really been getting on board. I don't feel like I've noticed it as much in the past. I feel like there's been so much talk about it, and there's been so many people just have been involved and wanting to watch it and wanting to hear the stories, and the athlete stories especially are just, every single story is incredible. You watch it and it's the most emotional thing in the world. You have friends competing in the tournament.
I know, I literally cry like every second day, like happy tears. I'm sitting in the comms booth and my calling partner, David Colbert, I'm just like, just hold, like I'm probably going to cry now. Like,
just give me a sec.
Yeah, let me get myself together. I think, yeah, I agree. And I think there's a lot of stuff going on in the world that sucks so much right now. And then the Olympics is there to bring everyone together, to showcase people working really hard or having a common ground, common interests. And I think that's the hype around it at the moment is how exciting it is to have something to celebrate.
Tell me where your story started.
Yeah, with winter sports?
Yeah.
Okay, so my parents were ski patrollers. I'm from the south coast of Sydney. Obviously not much snow there. So they were ski patrollers. We skied on weekends. I was obsessed with it. I was always kind of that feral kid that was like jumping off the bridges or like surfing and skateboarding covered in scabs, like pretty feral. And as soon as I got on skis and discovered that I could hit jumps or even like build them myself, I became obsessed with the world. It felt like I was flying, and I quickly progressed, got a coach when I was 12, joined the Australian ski team at 13. Debuted in my first World Cup when I was 16.
I feel like I would know this more than you.
Probably. Maybe 16, I think. World Championships and things like that. And it was amazing. Unfortunately, the past few years, when I qualified for Beijing Winter Olympics, unfortunately blew my knee before those. And that's where my media world started to come alive, I suppose, where I was introduced to it. I've always skied alongside it, but I have had 3 knee injuries, 3 knee surgeries since the first one, which meant that I've missed another games. But I've been introduced to getting to have the experience of media and skiing alongside, and then combining those two worlds when the Winter Olympics comes is such a treat for me. It's so great. I love it.
Can you talk me through a bit about your injuries and how they've impacted you?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like a completely changed person. The person before my first knee surgery compared to after. I think the way that you realize you love sport becomes quite different. I think I was really obsessed with the external things, the medals, the achievements, the things that I could tick off on a list. And I think when you come back after these big injuries, after 18 months of knee rehab, you come back because you fell in love with it at 5 years old, and you come back because you love nature, and you come back because it's what makes you feel alive. And the same thing I think goes with media. You know, I discovered this whole new world of media that I was super scared to discover. And the same goes, it's like, it makes me nervous. I feel good. I get to share a story about the athlete that competed and won bronze with no ACL. You know what I mean? Like, it's very similar in that sense. But I think off the back of my injuries, it just brought me back to my values and what I really love, and taught me to be kind to myself. It taught me to take new opportunities, you know, like, okay, this is the cards you've been dealt, like, now what's the game you're going to play, you know?
How has it been, the transition at the moment from professional athlete into the media space so far?
I love it. I do. I was talking to Lavender before and we were saying, I was like, I just want to go skiing, but there's also so many cool things, and what a terrible thing what an amazing thing to complain about, I mean. But yeah, it's great. And I love getting to share stories and meeting other people. I think that's one of the things that I love so much about sport is the community. You know, you meet with like-minded people, you get to bond over these experiences, and the same goes when you go into the media. It's meeting people that all align with you, and that's really cool, especially women in sports media, meeting you, meeting Lav. And I think this is really cool because we last met doing AFL
on a podcast.
Which is cool. So, yeah. But, yeah, I think it's finding a balance, but there is a way to do it, and I'm enjoying trying to figure that out. But it's a new world to me, totally new world.
Has anyone asked you what your plan is moving forward? Do you have a plan, or are you just kind of like trying to see what happens?
I have no plan. I did this talk at South by Southwest a few months ago called How to Kick the Shit Out of Plan B. And so it goes back to 4 years ago when I blew my knee, missed Beijing Olympics. I was so low, like didn't even want to watch the games. Channel 7 reached out and they're like, hey, come and do an audition to commentate the Olympics. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm going to hide in my room and not do that. Eventually, I got a text from my auntie, who my mum's best friend. She lives overseas and I adore her. She's fabulous. She sent me this text message that said, when plan A doesn't go to plan, kick the shit out of plan B. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. I'll go do this audition. I was 18. I was like, I'm not going to get the job anyway. Got the job. And off the back of it, I think that's a massive message that I've carried is, okay, things don't go to plan. There's 100 athletes that also could have made it to those Olympics that just never will because of external factors that are completely out of your control. So this is what you can do now. And I'm enjoying that process and trying to understand that. So in answer of what my plan is, I don't know.
There is no plan.
Yeah, there is no plan, but whatever it is, I'm going to kick the shit out of it. So
I love that.
That's my
so
approach
much.
to it after my injuries.
I think it's really important to remember, especially just in general in life, nothing is ever straightforward. I think I've learned that, you've learned that, everyone learns that, and we all learn it the hard way. You have a plan and you want to get somewhere, but it's never just point A to point B. There's point A, and to get to point B, there's like point A, point A, point A, point AA, point A, point AAA, and it just keeps going. And then eventually you get to point B, but then it's like, oh, now I want to get to point C. And it's never straightforward. It's always like this. And it's like you're going forward and then you go back and then you go sideways. And then, oh, okay, I like this way. So then we're going to go that way. And it's just a really nice reminder, I think, that it doesn't matter what you're doing. You might be an athlete. You might be, I don't know, an accountant. There's in every way, shape and form of life, everyone has the things that they want to do in life, and it's never going to be as straightforward as you're going to go from A to B.
Yeah, I also always think of this. My dad said this to me when I was so overwhelmed and just was like, my life is shattering after I think it was like my second or third knee surgery. And he reminds me often is like, you can never connect the dots looking forward, but looking back, it's really easy to go, it felt like that might have happened for a reason and it created a nice path. So it's kind of like, just trust the process. Sometimes it's like, it's worked out, so why won't it work out again, you know?
Yeah.
And you got through that hard time, so you can get through the next. And yeah, I think that's a nice reminder is, you know, it made sense, so it will eventually again.
And I think as well, if you have the determination to do something, doesn't matter what it is, if you have the determination and the work ethic to do something, you might not end up where you thought you'd end up, but you will end up somewhere.
Yeah.
And you'll probably end up somewhere that you love.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. If you're doing something you're inspired by, you're around the great people, like,
yeah,
just that.
You have recently commentated the Olympics. Talk to me about that experience, because that is huge. Again, Another Olympics.
Yeah, my second games, which is so nice because the first games I was 18 and had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even know where the cough button was, had no idea. So these games have been nice. I'm calling with David Colbert and Luke Neller as well, and they're just two incredible commentators. So I've been under the wing of those two guys and they've taught me so much. I think I said this earlier, it's like I love getting to share. So I'm the expert commentator, right? So I need to talk about the tricks and the way they take off and how their landing is and why the judges didn't like that, why the judges like that, all the reasons that people don't like, what they don't know about the sport in Australia. But I love that I then get to share the stories of athletes. And I think that's, especially in the Olympics, that's like what we all love so much about the Olympics is all these stories that we would never have heard about these people and everything they've gone through to go to these games and getting to share that's been something I love. Getting to be a part of it is something I love. And then especially getting to talk about the women's side of skiing and the progression that we've seen as well. We saw Mathilde Grimaud do the first ever run with 3 triples in a row. And like I got to commentate that. And I think that's so cool and get to share with the world that you guys just saw something that's never been done. Well, not the world. I shared it with Australia. But you got to share it with Australia. And that, like, to me is so awesome to have been a part of that.
Has it changed the way that you kind of view sport?
Yeah, I suppose so. Like, I think that I think it changed the way that I listen to other sports commentators a lot. And I found it, did you hear Eileen Gu's response to the reporter?
No, I did actually.
Yes,
I did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I shared it like 100 times.
It was incredible.
So good. Yeah. And I think that a lot when we saw, I know that the athletes go for gold and there is that goal. And if they haven't got the gold and they got the silver and the bronze and they want the gold, I understand that. But I've heard a lot of commentators talk about the silver as if it's a loss of the gold. And I was always like, I don't understand that. Like how Chloe Kim didn't lose that. She spoke about it as well, how incredible it is that someone she mentored beat her. And that's the progression of sport. And that's what makes sport so exciting. And I hear some sort like these things of commentators not rewarding that, or not commentators, just anyone talking about it, social media, broadcasters, everyone. And I just like that I can sit there and have a power of getting to share a moment and create it. Like you create the story as well. Like you're the storyteller for what people are seeing. So getting to write that as that silver was something that is going to go down in history, And Eileen, most decorated female free skier. And I didn't think for 1 second she lost the gold. I was like, she just won the silver.
Yeah.
And she's now the most decorated female skier of all time. And that's incredible. So, I think that's a nice way to write the story and see sport as well, that it's not wins, it's not losses, it's experience and it's the journey and the people you get to inspire. So doing that through commentary, I think that's a really nice way to view sport, I suppose.
Do you find that the way that athletes view that specific situation, do you find the way that athletes view someone winning a gold versus people external to sport looking at something as being lost? Do you think that it's an athlete or someone who's in sport perspective versus someone who's not?
Probably, actually. Yeah, I think so. I think no one, there's that, is it a Theodore Roosevelt quote? No one knows what the person in the arena goes through, the one that's covered in blood and mud and sweat and tears. It's only the people on the outside that judge. Yeah. And I don't know, we should find the quote and read it out.
We should find it.
But it's that, and I think about that a lot is everyone has a say on the person that didn't get the gold, and the person that got the silver is still so proud of it because they've worked their whole entire life for that moment. And there's thousands of little girls getting to watch that silver be won, and it's an incredible thing, and they'll remember that forever. And so I think that it's probably a loss to people that haven't ever experienced a moment that an athlete has.
From your perspective, how do you think that women's snow sports have evolved since you first started?
Oh my goodness, so much. Honestly, it has been mind-blowing, and I don't know if you can hear me when I'm commentating and in the booth. I'm just losing my mind the whole time. We saw the big air skiing. It was a 16 that got the gold last Olympics, and we're seeing 16s. The same with women's snowboarding. We saw triples. We saw the most incredible half-pipe runs that you compare that to 4 years ago. It is a whole different sport. And I think it's got a lot to do with the women. Well, it's got all to do with the women and women pushing it. But when you asked me that question, I thought instantly of the women's snowboard final slopestyle that we just saw. And have you heard about the judging? And it is a judge sport. So the judging it's a judge sport, so you sign up for it. Everyone, you're going to lose and you're not going to know why. And you can always argue a podium. But this made a lot of people quite upset, and I was watching it and really confused. And I rewatched the final runs like 5 times, being like, how has this even happened? But the judges put the gold position in a run that shouldn't have been the gold, and didn't reward the 2 other girls and the girl in 4th the way that they should have. And I think that when you look at things like that and you look at the progression that women's sport has taken and women's snow sports has taken, it needs to be rewarded heavily. And you can compare it to Eileen and Matilda's run, where honestly neck and neck. It was both incredible. I couldn't decide, other than the fact that Matilda just made history. So I think it needs to be rewarded in the progression of women's sport, right? And that wasn't seen in the women's snowboard slopestyle. It was gold. The girl that got the gold was someone that didn't challenge the sport the way that the other riders had. And I think that there's a responsibility in the people that are in judging or that are in sponsorship, that are in TV rights and streaming, to also progress the women's riding. So that felt like a loss for, it didn't even feel like a loss for Zoe Sadowski-Synnott. She became the most decorated Olympic snowboarder of all time, men and women, which is incredible, getting silver. Like, it didn't feel like a loss for her, but it felt like a step back for women's snowboarding when you didn't see the progression be rewarded.
Yeah.
So it's down to the women, it's down to the riding, but it's a lot of things that come down to it, and the judging on that felt like a pretty big step back, which was a disappointment because they've been really good with the other events. So
how important is the coverage for people to take seriously these women in snow sports in general, but in snow sports, women in snow sports?
So much. Well, there's the progression of women's sport that we're seeing. There's the progression in women's snow sports in all of the aspects. They're getting faster, they're getting stronger, the flips are getting larger, the amplitude is getting higher. We saw it in the women's half pipe qualification. The amplitude was next level, But it's got to be on the TV. It's got to be in the media's eyes. It's got to be sponsored. The girls have to be making money the way that the men are. And we are lucky in our sport that most events are equal paid, but there's still a few that aren't. There's a lot that women don't even get invited to. So there is these gaps. But it comes down to the language that we use. It comes down to the language that people that have podcasts that discuss it, and they promote the sport, the way that they talk to women in interviews properly and not ask them. I mean, it's
baby them.
Always the case. I mean, I've had interviews where I've heard the one before with the guy and then they're like, what was your haircut routine? I'm like, excuse me, So I think that there's a massive responsibility in the people asking the questions and on the TV to really push and put women in the light that they're supposed to be in.
And what kind of questions do you think people should be asking? How do we get the best out of the coverage that we're giving?
That is such a good question. You ask the questions.
I'm the one coming up with the questions. That is my question. I think I'm going to answer that question maybe for you, but I think when I do my job, I come up with the questions. I've come up with all the questions that I ask you and all of our other guests. I do my research, and I think sometimes it's interesting because there are certain people in certain spaces that look at women, female athletes, young women like you. You're a lot younger than I am, but there's some people that look at people like you and female athletes and just young women in general, and they think that they need to infantilize them and they need to talk to them as if they're their children. And I think you are so eloquent, you're so well spoken, you've got so much character, but you're also very good at what you do, both on screen and in the snow, right? And I think you're the expert. What you're doing right now is a very clear indicator of that. You're being taken seriously. And I think it's time that people in positions like mine and in positions of people who are interviewing you and asking you the questions, they actually do need to be asking you the hard questions and the questions that need to be asked, like what needs to change in women's sport, or, how can this be done better, or what are your thoughts on this, rather than what's your hair care routine, or who did your makeup today, or and I think it's changing, and women in sports still do get that. They do get that angle sometimes from some people, and I think it is changing. And again, some people don't really have the insight to look at a situation like that and go, oh, maybe I should ask them a question that's really serious, but some people just don't do research.
Yeah, well, I think research, as soon as you said that, I did my research. I was like, yeah, people need to do their research on their athletes to start off with. And I agree, man. Like, people step up to, I think people doubt that anyone, especially women, can step up to a situation. I think they think that they're going to stumble and fall and not be able to step up to the level that they need to be at. And that's in interviews as well. And I've loved watching the post-Olympic media interviews with the athletes, and they step up to these questions, and you see Eileen Gu answer that question so perfectly. She also put the male reporter in his place, which I loved. And it was a question that felt like it was quite dumbed down as well, like you said. And then there's responses like Chloe Kim, who got asked the question when her fellow teammate Hunter Hess, Donald Trump, tweeted this ridiculous thing about him, calling him a loser, and it was outrageous. And Chloe handled that question about politics perfectly. And, you see these responses really well from these women that are so well educated. They're great in their sport. They're great in their job. They're great at speaking their mind and their voice. And I think that's, like you said, it's missed a lot of the time, missed opportunities to hear what women have to say by asking these silly questions.
It is interesting because female athletes are experts in their space, and sometimes they're not taken seriously. And so I think in order to, at the end of the day, I'm not the expert. I know nothing about snow sports, especially women's snow sports. I am not the expert. You're the expert. So I think someone like me needs to be asking you the correct questions, and I need to do my research in order to get the best out of you, because you're the expert. You're the one who's doing it. You're the one who knows about it. So I think, it's just something that people need to get on board with. Female athletes aren't just there. They're experts in their field. A male athlete's not going to be able to give you the insight on women's sports that a female athlete is going to be able to, because they're the ones playing it. They're the ones doing it. So, I 100% agree. I just think that it's really important to take women seriously in whatever they do. And the biggest thing for me, like you can see right now, is it's so important for us, especially on Momentum. The reason why women do so well is when people do take them seriously and when people do give them a platform. And the whole point of this show and this podcast is to give women a platform to say their piece.
Yeah, 100%. Yes. So, well said. I was also thinking as well, the way that articles are portraying women when Coco Gauff smashed her racket. Oh my God, how many times do we have to see a man smash their racket and it's so fine? Coco goes off into her own space. There's some hidden camera and it's become this big song and dance that, it's just like, that's insane. It just didn't need to be the way it was. And Lindsey Vonn, blowing her ACL, skiing in the Olympics, having a crash that had nothing to do with her ACL. Her hand got caught in a gate, literally had nothing to do with her knee. But this whole story of her being selfish and not being respectful of her teammates and the medical staff and being inconsiderate because of competing without an ACL. Whereas, if it was a man, it'd be like, they're the legend, they're the man. Like, what a weapon.
It's like Taylor Swift's song, The Man. It really,
oh my God, I love that
really
song.
Resonates a lot of the time.
Yeah.
My final question for you is, what are you currently working towards now? Post-Olympics, what are you working towards?
I'm finding this whole new world of media, and it's really cool because I keep going, I want to go skiing, and I will. Don't worry, I will. But there's this also, I'm finding this media job and finding a new balance, and I'm loving it. So I think for me, I'm working towards creating a balance between sport and media and continuing to push my platform, which I've never done. I've only really opened up to the whole sports media on my own social platforms the past couple months properly. So I really do want to kind of drill down onto that and do what you guys are doing. And I love this podcast. I love the conversations you're having, and I take a lot of inspiration from your work. So I think for me it's trying to continue skiing forever and being in nature and being in the mountains, but also having the right conversations about sport.
You have dropped so many good little nuggets of advice, but we're putting together our playbook for success on Momentum. So I'm asking everyone to give me their single holy grail piece of advice. So if there is one piece that you could give me, what is your holy grail piece of advice that you take into every corner of your life?
There's two that come to mind. Am I allowed to give two?
You can give two.
Okay. The first is be kind to yourself in the times you feel like you least deserve it. That was something that I took from missing the Olympics, from blown knees, is I was just not kind to myself when I couldn't even do anything about the outcome, and you actually sometimes just need to be kind and give yourself peace and it'll be okay. And the second one is do today what others won't, so tomorrow you can do what others can't.
That is so good, and that is the perfect way, I think, the perfect note to end the show on. So, Miff, thank you so much for sitting on the couch with us, even though you have got the most insane schedule. And to everyone at home, thank you so much for tuning in this week to Momentum. A massive thank you again to Mecca Empower for helping us bring this episode to life. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and anywhere you get your podcasts. And of course, keep up with us on socials at The Momentum Show. I'm Kat Sasso, and we'll see you next time.